2, 3. Hello everyone, I'm Robert, that guy you met today. If we haven't met, go ahead and scroll through my YouTube videos and let's get to know each other. Check it out behind me, of course. This is my 1993 Chevy Corvette, which is undergoing a transformation. We're gonna flip the camera around. Hopefully this live stream goes a bit better than the last time I tried this, which was an epic fail, but I have a new phone now, and I'm hoping that that will make the difference. So, I wanted to go live because I just wanted to show you guys something that I did film a bit of an update about it, but it's kind of brief. So in case that video doesn't make its way to YouTube, I just want to kind of talk about what we figured out today. So you may remember in the video before this, I mentioned that we had a little bit of an overheating issue. Actually, I might not have mentioned that. Well, if I didn't, we have a little bit of an overheating issue. And it's really something that I'm kind of scared to dive into just because some of the parts that are related to the cooling system are, it's like real engine components, and that kind of scares me. It's the kind of thing that I don't want to dive into it if I don't really have to. But it occurred to me last night, when the car has been overheating, I don't recall ever hearing any cooling fans running. And, I asked a couple of people that had heard the car running, and I was like, hey, did you guys hear cooling fans? Like on the videos I'm seeing online with this car with this cooling fans running full blast is a pretty loud thing. So we came to the conclusion that, in fact, the cooling fans weren't running. And then also I noticed when I was driving it on the previous video that the car didn't really start to overheat until we brought it back and started doing silly stuff with it and doing donuts. And basically in times when there wasn't a lot of airflow. So it led me to believe that the problem could just be that when the cooling fans should have been running and sucking air up through that radiator, that they weren't. And sure enough, we kind of came to that conclusion. So long story short, what we did was we need to figure out where the issue was with the system. So we started with does this system actually just work on its own? Isolating whatever sensor should be turning the fans on and off. So we discovered that and this came right out of the Haynes manual, that if you ground out 2 pins on this OBD1 or ALDL connector, that it puts the car in a diagnostic mode, and as part of that diagnostic mode, it actually turns on both fans full blast. And we did that, and the fans come on. So that lets me know that the fans are good, the 2 fan relays are good, and the communication between these relays and the car's computer is all working. So that really only leaves the fan, like the temperature sensor that actually switches the fans on, which appears to be kind of a separate thing from sort of the rest of the car. Like it seems like that sensor manually triggers the fans, and that possibly the engine computer doesn't even have anything to do with it. I don't know. It's weird, but the problem should be with that sensor. Now, that shouldn't be a big deal. The problem is that sensor is just way down in there, right behind the dipstick. And that looks like that'll be a really big deal to get that sensor out and replace it. What car is it? This is a 1993 Chevy Corvette. So as far as doing that, I think that's definitely something I'm going to leave for a pro. I don't want anything to do with that at all. So the thing is, and I talk about this on the update that I'm going to be posting hopefully tomorrow, so I won't go into this too much. But the question is what should I do to bypass these relays and just switch the fans manually? Should I just get a couple fuses and some switches, mount them in the cabin of the car and just flip them on and off? Or should I actually sort of hijack these relays and just trigger these relays with the switch in the cabin? Or what should I do other than replacing this sensor, because I'm only guessing that it's the sensor. I mean, it most likely is, but that can't be cheap and that can't be easy. So this is my current dilemma. Don't mind my zip ties. This was from our little quick test drive. We just took all the wires that were dangling down and just zip tied them up to keep them from dragging. After that test drive, I now know which parts of this that I can just go ahead and cut off, and we can just shorten down this whole thing so we won't really have anything to tie up. But also, these little LED, these are amber light strips. Like, I was gonna kind of mount these on the bumper like this, or maybe on the bottom part. The more I look at this, the less I like it. So I think I'm gonna order just like a little amber turn signal and just kind of have it sit right here. Let's see. It's got a notification. Okay. The other thing that we've got to do that I've been waiting is the coolant overflow tank over here. I didn't want to mess with this until we sorted out the overheating issue. And it's still not resolved, so we still have this to contend with, but that's fine for the time being. In the video where I was, where I installed the steering wheel, you may remember that I had an issue with the horn. Right now I just have the horn unplugged because it either is just going off all the time or it doesn't work at all. I thought that I had figured out what the issue was with that, but it's still not cooperating. And I really need a horn. So I just have this feeling that I'm just gonna end up hardwiring a lot of things just to bypass like sketchy things with this car. I just wish there was a better way, because I just feel like that's gonna get really cluttered and get really old really quickly. But I need a horn, and I cannot for the life of me get that horn button that came with the steering wheel I got to work consistently. Moving around, I have my battery tender draped over because we normally have the car turn the other direction. One thing I didn't really get into was that I put in the switch for the fuel pump kind of right there under the trip monitor controls and all that. Probably going to end up adding 2 more switches there for the other things that I'm going to need to get hardwired. Let's see, moving around. I know I kind of glossed over this brake light installation because I think it was just painfully boring stuff, but I'm really happy with the way that came out. I always liked how the brake lights were mounted on like stadium trucks and dune buggies and stuff like that, and I saw this on something, and I was like, you know what, that's exactly how I want to do my car. So I'm really happy with how that came out. I'm still waiting to get a breather, like one of those little filter things that's going to go on the end of a hose that's going to come off of here. So I'm still waiting on that. That got held up in the mail. I got to come back and work on this fuel level sensor. Even though the fuel level on the dash doesn't always work, I'm gonna at least have it hooked up, but you know, I don't know, might as well. It looks kind of worrisome with just this wire hanging out of the gas tank unattended. So back here, it was really stupid that we had this just zip tied to the frame while we were driving around. We're gonna come back and we're gonna wrap this whole thing in foam, and then this will actually get hard mounted to this piece of metal. Probably, I might come back and do that tomorrow. That'll be a quick off-camera thing. Back here, really importantly, there is just a lot of excess wire. Now that I have everything hooked up and working, I'm gonna try my best to cut back as much of that stuff as I can, because there is just a lot of that wire. And it kind of scares me to start cutting into that harness, just because with the lights and stuff, so much of this car and it working properly depends on like resistance from light bulbs triggering other components, and I get really nervous thinking about cutting into this, and if I cut into the wrong thing, like I'm gonna have to be really methodical with cutting this back. Like I probably cut one wire and then check everything, cut another wire, then check everything. Really weird circuitry back here. I have for my license plate, which is zip tied on like everything else on that car. I have an actual mount for a license plate, and it has LED lights on it. And that'll probably get mounted to the side over here. Well, this is a sway bar, so it can't go like right here. But so it'll probably go about right here. It'll be kind of underneath, but that's fine. And then our license plate will hang off to the right of the car. And then the thing I'm really excited about is the exhaust, which I did a post about it a few days ago. But I'm a really big fan of Pagani cars. And I just thought, since this whole thing is very ridiculous, then what the hell? So I'm gonna do my exhaust in a configuration like this. Because if you know anything about Pagani cars, they have this pretty iconic like square pattern exhaust. And I'm gonna set mine up just like that. And what we're gonna do, see if I can pick this up. Yeah, I'm gonna scratch those up. What I'm gonna do, and I might end up getting into this tomorrow. Right, yeah, like in the Pagani Zonda and even the Huayra, and pretty well everything they've ever made. What I'm gonna do is cut these pipes off right before the bend down there, and I'm gonna have to bring them out a bit, and then I want it to kind of come up slightly, but what I wanna do is have those pipes mounted almost right against this metal. I mean, give them a little bit of clearance so they don't rattle or do anything, but kind of up a little bit higher. And I think that's gonna look really cool. I'm really excited about that. If nothing else, I think it'll just look really weird and unusual, and it'll just be kind of attention grabbing. But that I'm excited about. I'm gonna attempt to do that myself, but that might end up being, I might end up taking that to a muffler shop. Let's see, what else? Moving around the car here. Moving around the car. I think we covered everything that's going on in there. A comment on the previous video that I put out, somebody said something about my head coming up beyond the roll bar. That must have been the camera angle or maybe how I was sitting that made it look like that, but I am not nearly tall enough for my head to clear any of this. So I was probably just leaning forward and it looked like that. These seats, surprisingly comfortable. Like I wouldn't want to go cross country in these seats by any stretch of the imagination, but they're not as uncomfortable as one would think. And since now the backs are braced, it's very sturdy, and you really feel the road a lot. Like not in like a rough, hard suspension kind of way, but it just makes the car, or it makes it feel like you're more connected with the car and the road, which is actually pretty cool. So I just saw something come across the chat, but I don't know how. Huh. Yeah, for some reason the comments don't stay on my screen very long. So anyway, I think that covers everything that I've got to do immediately. Actually that's a lie. So this is the wire that's going to my fuel pump. As you can see, it's just kind of dangling out. We're gonna tidy that up and have that so it doesn't go outside the car. And then I also need to put a fuse on that positive. I ordered some on Amazon. They should be here today, if not tomorrow. So I'll be able to go ahead and get all that done. As well as the cruise control module thing goes right here. The more I think about it, the less I feel any kind of need to have cruise control, because Well, for one, the hoses that go to it are deteriorated and leaking, and since it's a vacuum-based system, I doubt that it would work. So there would be a repair job to put back the cruise control, and I'm just gonna pretend like it doesn't exist. So I think we're just gonna put that away. Very good. So yeah, that's about what I got. I see there's a few people in here. If y'all have any questions or whatever for me, you can just drop them in the comments. I'll probably stick around for another 5 or 10 minutes if people are still here. Hang a rear bumper of some kind and mount the tag and tail light to it. Yeah, I'm considering a lot of different things, that being one of them. The stock bumper is still over here on the wall with the gas tank that's probably still half full of gas. So this is the stock, like, structural crash bumper, and I was trying initially to see if there was something we could do to just utilize this and like shorten it or something, but then we realized that this is aluminum. So modifying it, we're kind of at a disadvantage, but I'm kind of open to a lot of different ideas with that. We have a lot of good mounting points to make another bumper and mount it to the back, so it'll just be a matter of time. MX, you want to change the color of this car? Well, not really. I kind of don't mind the teal color that it is. We actually, we might have named it the Teal Ordeal, possibly. So, I mean, other than this rocker panel and the roll bar, there's not really paint anywhere anyway. Eventually, when the radio control equipment goes in this car, I'm going to use this part of the roll bar as a control panel. And then right behind this, there'll actually be I think it's like a 10-inch touch screen that'll have all the management for the robotics equipment. But as far as changing the color, I hadn't really considered it, honestly. On the subject of painting and stuff like that, I do want to put like a rhino liner or something down here in the footwells, but I've still got to pull out all this really nasty fiberglassy stuff. Right, yeah, Gregory, yeah, there's really not much left to change, but some of y'all may or may not know, but Enrique is an artist, and I might have, see if he wants to do some art around here, or just do something weird. I mean, this whole car is, like, guys, I'm not taking any of this, like, very seriously with this car. Like, I really want to just have fun with it. If there's something ridiculous that we can do, I would love you guys' input, any ideas that you might have about that. I know that I definitely want to have the gas tank painted up like one of those, one of the boxes in Super Mario Brothers that, you jump and you hit the box and then you get a mushroom or a coin or whatever. I want to paint this whole thing up like one of those with question marks on each side. And then, like, I don't know, do like stupid video game references wherever I can on the car. Like, this is not to be taken seriously. Like, this is just literally for lulz, as they say. So if you guys have any ideas for things that I could do as far as like the paint is concerned on the small bit of real estate that we have left here and down here, or even on where the doors would mount up right here, I can clean that up and do something funky with it. But I don't know. I'm open to whatever. Any ideas you might have for just the car in general, I'd love to hear them. Because I'm still trying to really figure out a lot of what I want to do with this car. Now that it's at the point where most of the safety stuff has been done and a lot of the mandatory stuff has been addressed, now we can kind of just have fun with it and do whatever. So if you have any ideas, let me know. I'm open to whatever. And if nobody has anything else for me, I'm probably going to go ahead and head out. So thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Don't forget to thumbs up, comment, and subscribe, and then click that little bell so that you stay up to date on this entire project. And we'll see you next time.